Well, hello there everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and today we have the 2021 Dallas Cowboys review special show, the annual show where I'm talking about what happened in the season, where I would grade the season, how I felt certain guys did, just everything. And then on top of that, the outlook for the team going forward, how am I feeling as a fan regarding the team. All that stuff is going to be a part of this video, so it might be a longer one, so sit tight. Do me a favor and make sure to like the video. It does not take too long to do whatsoever, and it helps the channel out a lot. Also, subscribe if you are new here so you don't miss out on more content like this, and hit that notification bell as well. So, what we're going to do is go through the off-season moves the Cowboys made prior to the start of the season, the draft, then we'll get into the season itself, and where I think the outlook is. So, with that being said, let's start off with off-season signings. Now, the big thing is that I understand most of these additions were in the off-season, but some were during the middle of the season or some stuff like that. So if there were and I know some guys were added on, but like we gotta realize that it's more so just the overall. So when you look at what the Cowboys did, they signed, when they brought in guys, they were all one-year contracts with the exception of Terrell Basham, who was on a 2-year deal. So the Dallas Cowboys went cheap in free agency, and who did they add to the team? They added Corey Clement, running back, Jeremy Sprinkle, tight end, and then offensive tackle Ty Neshke on the offensive side of the ball. As for those three, Corey Clement looked solid. I felt that he presented himself as a guy that has earned a cheap spot for next year, as like solid running back depth. Jeremy Sprinkle, didn't really do much, so I could care less about him. And Ty Neshke, just a backup offensive lineman who I feel like, if you want to keep on a cheap contract, I think you can. But, I think you can get someone else. But overall, I think with the offensive signings in terms of adding, we didn't really do a whole lot. So I felt like, whatever we did offensively was kind of going with what we had in 2020. Then you go onto the defensive side of the ball, a whole bunch of one-year contracts, with the exception of Terrell Basham. So on the defensive line, you added guys like Brent Urban and Carlos Watkins. Brent Urban, I really liked. I thought he brought an element to this run-stopping defense that helped. But unfortunately, with him getting hurt, it didn't do them any justice. But they still played okay. Again, I understand the playoff game. I get that. But, as a team throughout the season, that was huge. Carlos Watkins, he had his moments too. I felt like he was just going to be a camp body, and he kind of proved wrong in that regard. Along with Jaron Kearse. Jaron Kearse has emerged as, in my opinion, he was the best signing of the offseason for the Cowboys defense for free agents. And I think that when you ultimately see how this defense did in 2021, you can attribute that to Jaron Kearse's leadership and also his play. And I want to bring him back. I would make sure to try and get him to stay here because he's a key cog with this team. Then you got Malik Hooker, who, on a cheap deal, who played okay. I felt as if maybe you can get him to resign on the cheap end. He kind of played for what you got him for. He played well for what you got him for. But I think that I would like to have Malik Hooker back for another season. DeMonte Casey had his moments, and I believe that you could bring him back if you would like, but you can definitely move on from him. You can get better at that position. So, I think if you want to bring him just to have him just in case, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that you can't get better there. You bring on Keanu Neal, and Keanu Neal, in my opinion, was the, I would say aside from maybe the Terrell Basham signing, I think that the Keanu Neal signing was the worst of the bunch. And, again, they made a bunch of cheap signings, so it's kind of hard to really determine, certain aspects of what to expect. Because I think with Keanu Neal, we were expecting him to be a lot more. Now again, we'll get into the whole Micah Parsons thing in the draft because he really overshadowed how we kind of looked at it. But with Keanu Neal playing with the linebacker / safety, he didn't really live up to what we were expecting. So unfortunately, that was a bust there. But on your special teams, Brian Anger was a home run. Jacob McQuaid, a good signing. Both those guys, more specifically with Brian Anger, to be an all-pro punter, there's nothing more you can ask for. He played very damn well. I'm so glad we got him. I would try to retain him as best you can. If not, okay, well, we're going to have to look somewhere else, but you see where I'm getting at. But I think that your best signings were J-Ron Curse, Brian Anger, and the Jacob McQuaid signing. I think those were your best signings. As for your worst signings, I would say the Keanu O'Neal signing, the Terrell Basham signing in some instances, and I would say the, that would pretty much be it. Everything else was meh. And, again, when you're not paying these guys a whole lot of money, your expectations go way down. Now we go to the re-signings. I think that's where a lot of us were looking at. How did the Cowboys do in bringing some of this? So they only brought back a handful of guys. Jordan Lewis on a 3-year deal. C.J. Goodwin on a 2-year deal. C.J. Goodwin, very good special teams player, so I'm not shocked there. Jordan Lewis, I feel like you can definitely get someone else to fill his role, especially with the money you're paying him. But I felt like, okay, I would have preferred to kept Chidobe Awuzie, but the Cowboys decided Jordan Lewis was the guy, and Cheeto went on to Cincinnati, and he had a pretty good season. So it sucks that they weren't able to bring him back. They brought back 3 wide receivers in Malik Turner, Cedric Wilson, and Noah Brown. I believe that the acquisition, the ability to keep Malik Turner and Cedric Wilson proved to be very good for the Cowboys because I really like Cedric Wilson. I think that he provides an element to this offense that helps you move it more methodically. And Malik Turner, he's shown his instances of being a solid receiver. Noah Brown, I felt like, was a mistake in signing because we didn't really use him a whole lot to justify bringing him back. Then the big one, Dak Prescott re-signing with the Cowboys. I think that was the biggest thing you had to do because, if you end up saying we want to go with it in a different direction, then the whole complexion of how we're looking at building this team changes. And I'm going to get into that in the future outlook of the team because there's a point that I need to make, and I hope you guys stick around for that. So Dak Prescott being signed was a massive thing because you at least ensure to yourself, okay, we have a quarterback, which, going into, we didn't know what he was going to look like. I was saying I felt like he was like, on the better side of the league, between 6 and 11, and I think that he held up that end of the bargain regardless. And again, we'll talk about his play, but, to move on, you go into what the Cowboys lost. They lost a whole bunch of guys, but the main ones that I felt like that they severely should have thought about keeping, definitely Chidobe Awuzie. That I think with him leaving, and again, the Cowboys weren't really using, but I would have loved to see Chidobe with the Cowboys. I think he would have been playing a lot better and benefited with Dan Quinn. A lot of these other guys, there really isn't another signing that I missed. I think a lot of these guys were just kind of like whatevers. Yeah, so there's that. Then you go into the draft, and so the draft is where the Cowboys really struck gold, and I think that that's why the Cowboys had the season they did, because this injection with young talent on the defensive side of the ball helped. Micah Parsons, home run selection. He played amazing. He's going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year without question, and I believe that he has the ability to build a very good resume here in Dallas going forward. He has proven to be worth the pick that the Cowboys made with him, and I think that you have a piece to build around, and he's going to be that guy. I think you need to continue to I don't mind him being a linebacker type of guy, but I think you need to play him as a game wrecker, make him rush the passer a bit more. I think he was really good at that. And I think in some instances, make him go sideline to sideline as well. He's a hybrid, so I think that really helps with what you're trying to do. Kelvin Joseph at first looked like, okay, what the hell's going on here? But as things progressed, he started to play very good, and so we'll see how he goes into year 2. Osa Odighizuwa was a really good pick by the Cowboys. He had his fair share of moments, and I think that he's going to be a solid defensive tackle in the rotation. Chauncey Goldstein, Didn't really do a whole lot, in terms of, well, I mean, he's a special teams guy as well, so, okay. Nashawn Wright has yet to prove to me that he was worth the third round pick. Right now, I would say no because of the use. But again, I understand the Cowboys were loaded at corner with who they had. So again, that's a wait and see type of selection. Jabril Cox, I'm so mad he tore his ACL because he didn't, I believe that he is going to be a damn good player, and his speed is something that you're going to need at the linebacker position. So I hope the Cowboys can build off of that. Josh Ball, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was him that had the character issues. I want to see what he can do because he's a very talented individual, and I think that he could definitely be a possible starter on this offensive line, depending on what you want to do. He has that type of talent. Semi Fehoko, meh. Quinn Ohana, meh. Israel Mukamu, I butchered his last name. Meh. And Matt Fairnot. Keep an eye out on him. He played very well at center towards the end of the season, regardless of who he played against. I am looking at him as a possible starter if you don't get a center, but I feel like you can get someone better. But I really liked what he brought to the table. And that was your 2021 Dallas Cowboys draft class. And, I would, when you kind of, to grade the offseason, I think that when it comes to the signings, I believe that the Cowboys deserve maybe a C plus. And then as for the draft, I would give the Cowboys a definite A. You get a franchise cornerstone player and a couple of other great guys to be starters or rotational guys. That's hard to do, and you were bound to hit on one of these, and the Cowboys got a bunch of these guys. So we'll see how they progress going into year 2 of their careers. Next we go to the staff. So the Cowboys added Dan Quinn from Atlanta. Obviously, that was the best move the Cowboys made the entire season. He made that defense go from one of the worst in the NFL history, or Cowboys history, I should say. You can argue NFL history, to one of the better units in the NFL in 2021. Huge kudos to him. Aside from that, nothing really else in terms of the staff. So now we move on to the actual season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the skill positions on the team and then talk about the entire season in terms of how things transpired over the months of the year. So let's obviously got to start with the quarterback. Dak Prescott, whether you like him or not, for him to come back from the injury and to play at the level he played at, that's very good. I don't think there's nothing more than you can ask for in that department. Now, I will say that he played as two different guys. That first start, he played like an MVP guy that it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. Then in the second half, it's like, okay, there were moments he played very good, and then there were moments where he did not look so good, and so it's kind of wishy-washy. For me, it was not to the point to where I'm thinking, okay, we got to get rid of this guy, but at the same time, it wasn't like I had a full-blown confidence that he was going to be that upper echelon type of guy. Now, I kind of felt like he was in the top 5 maybe if you kind of move things around, but I feel like he kind of established himself after this season as a 6 to 11 guy. Now, you can win with a guy like that, and there's a guy like that in Tony Romo that we had. And when I get to the future of the future outlook of the team, I'm going to explain how I feel the organization, is not taking themselves seriously, and I'll further elaborate on that. But getting to the point, Tony Romo breaking the franchise record in touchdown passes with 37. Congratulations to him. For him to come back and do that, I don't think that we should slouch on that because it shows that, hey, you know what, he at least did, his part in most of the games. And I think a lot of it also, comes down to the coaching as well. I think that what I think that the Cowboys need to do is and I don't want to spoil this, but I think they need to get someone to coach Dak a bit harder so that he's playing a lot better or getting to the potential that he needs to be a lot quicker. Because, when you look at how this offense was run and how Dak Prescott looked, I don't think he was fully healed by the calf strain, so it didn't help how he played. The shoulder thing was kind of BS at the start of the season, and we saw that it didn't really affect him. But I felt like the Cowboys did not design or call enough plays to do deep balls. Well, Dak Prescott should be able to do this, that, and the third. He can't read a defense and all this other stuff. I could say for certain that there might be instances where he, in the Cardinals game was an example where he could not see it. But then there are moments where it's like, okay, well, is it that he's not reading the defense, or is it that the offensive scheme is requiring him to do certain things in order to get there? Because when you look at other teams and how they handle it, like in Green Bay or in other places have been successful, really it should be, okay, here's the play, throw it to this guy, this is how we're going to make sure your guy's open, we're going to schematically do that. And the Cowboys don't do that. The Cowboys do not do that. They are hoping that they're, it's like a, how would I word it? It's like a, Jason Garrett, we're going to just make the best guy win type. That's such nonsense. We don't need that in Dallas, and that is why there were moments he struggled, whether it be on his own accord and him effing up, or you could see that that's a problem. Now, I would talk about the running backs, but the key thing was the offensive line. The offensive line to start off the year played extremely well, all things considered. Terrence Steele developing into a very damn good starting right tackle for this team, and he did not deserve to lose his goddamn job. I don't care what anybody says. After kind of going back and looking at things, he did not deserve to lose his job. So there's that. Another thing is that Connor Williams was starting off very well, and then he really struggled in the second half of the season. He was getting overpowered, and on top of that, Tyler Yadish did not help you whatsoever in the interior. He got overpowered in most instances. There was moments where he was playing very well, but now you have to consider upgrading your center, and I think you should do that. Matt Faranock, the rookie, had moments where I'm like, maybe we do have something there, but I don't know, and I would rather kind of look elsewhere. I want better guys. I think you can find better guys than Matt Faranock. I think you can find better guys than Tyler Biadasz, but he's a placeholder for now. I'm sorry, but Tyron is not reliable anymore, and I'm getting sick and tired of having him miss games. We can't afford this shit. We need to get someone else to play left tackle. Whether you want to move Terrence Steele over the left tackle and have him learn that position, I don't think you should do that. I have a personal opinion on what they should do, but I'll get into that later. But offensively, the Cowboys' offensive line started off well, but once they started shuffling that thing around with Connor McGovern and company, fell to shit. I don't care what anybody says. I think that was the main reason, along with your play calling and the quarterback going through his situations, to what caused you to fall off offensively in the latter part of the season. And going to your running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, I was like, okay, maybe he still has it. But then, with the torn PCL, it didn't help whatsoever. Yes, he eclipsed 1,000 yards. Yes, he got 10 touchdowns. But at some point, we had to sit down and say, I think we might need to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. We can't do it next year or this upcoming year, but we can probably do it in 2023, and you're probably going to end up having to do that. I think the Cowboys made a mistake in restructuring his contract. They should have structured Amari's because, you don't know how these running back contracts are going to go, and the Cowboys made a mistake, and we know the Jones boys want to see Zeke do his thing because, with that top pick, they want to justify the pick. But I would say ever since once 2020 hit, I would say that's when Zeke's kind of fell off. From being a top 5 running back to a guy where, okay, he can maybe get 100 yards, but I doubt it. And I think that's where you kind of have to fix up some things. You get to your wide receivers. So CeeDee Lamb led your team in receiving yards. Touchdowns, I believe, was a tie between Amari Cooper and Dalton Schultz. And from what I see, I think that the Cowboys have made an argument that they can definitely move on from Michael Gallup because of the nature of things. CeeDee Lamb has a drop problem, and I I don't know, man. It's just weird because, he's a great player. My biggest issue is, do we believe that he is the full-on superstar number one that we think he's going to be down the road? Now, he still has plenty of time. That was his second season. He's got plenty of time to improve. But that's something we're going to have to look out for. And Amari Cooper, whatever his opinions are on that, with him getting the virus, it did not help this team whatsoever. And, he was hot or cold. And, and again, I'm going to get into the whole, coaching part of it because that was a key failure. And that's more of an organizational failure because of how history is shown. Like I said, I want to say that for last. But yeah, that's where I felt that offensively the Cowboys were at. I think that when they started the season, this was the 2020 offense, coupled with the defense that can do its thing. Then it started falling off the rails really quickly, to where it went from elite to getting the job done barely type of thing. And it kind of started to pick up steam a bit and then crashed and burned in the playoffs. Defensively, the Cowboys made massive strides. Every part of their defense played better. Their safety played better. The linebackers played very good. With Jalen Smith leaving in the middle of the season, I think that it really moved things around. But Leighton played very good towards the end of the year, and especially in the playoffs. But, the key guy in all this was Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has now given you a legitimate star in your defense that you can build around. And so the defensive line with DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Randy Gregory, you got two guys that are very good there. But you're going to start having questions about DeMarcus Lawrence, him getting hurt. Is he there all the time? Is he worth the money? That's going to start being the question, the availability aspect of things. And then for Randy Gregory, I think you should try to bring him back because, but then, he left you a sour taste in your mouth after the playoff game. But I think that just one game is not to be, I understand it's a playoff game, but I think, again, that falls on the coaching part, and some of it's the player, some of it's the coaching staff. But that's that. For Micah Parsons to get 10-plus sacks, awesome for him. Then you go to the cornerbacks, and goddamn, Trevon Diggs, 11 interceptions. That does not happen on accident. And, I understand that he got beat at times, but that happens. But to get 11 interceptions is nothing. I hate that Pro Football Focus has pushed this narrative that he's given. They can stop that with cornerbacks, man. That's not how shit works. And I hated that everyone believes these stupid narratives that Pro Football Focus just bullshits their way to, because there are other things that go to a cornerback being beat. Like if the safety help isn't there, or maybe there's something that happens, like they get tripped up. Like there could be many variables that lead to that. So I absolutely think that that's unfair. But the Dallas Cowboys special teams unit, Greg Zuerlein can get the hell out of here. He has missed so many extra points, more so than needed, and I don't trust the guy. And when you get to a point where you can't trust your kicker, you got to let him go. But punter and long snapper, very damn good. And the return game was solid in some instances. And also, blocking all the punts, too, that's great. The Cowboys haven't seen so many blocked punts in a season, let alone in, a freaking coaching tenure. But, hats off to the Cowboys special teams in that department. So now we get to the playoffs. And as for the playoffs, you say, okay, where do you feel the Cowboys failed to build off of on the regular season? So when you look at how the playoffs went here, they lose to San Francisco, a 6th seed, that was playing the right kind of football at the right time, by a final score of 23-17, and embarrassingly more so, they were the only fucking home team to lose on Wild Card Weekend. Isn't that sad? The 49ers jumped out to a quick 10-0 lead. The Cowboys tried to claw themselves back into the game. And then, it was just too little too late for them. The Cowboys allowed the 49ers to score only one touchdown in the second half. The Cowboys had a chance to win the game, and they didn't win the game. And so, Dallas has now suffered they suffered 2 one-and-done postseasons now in the last 3 postseason appearances, and that is not good. So to finish a total of 12-6 with the loss stings. The Cowboys should have won that game if they were more disciplined, if they knew how to come in and attack the 49ers more effectively. It would have helped them, and that's why they lost this game, people. They lost this game because schematically they got outcoached. Schematically, they were not prepared, and then on top of that, the player execution didn't help as well. That is what killed the Cowboys in this playoff game. So then you get into the full-on stats. As I mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys ranked first in offensive yardage and also scoring. Defensively, they finished 19th in total, 16th in rushing, 20th in pass. And again, the yardage part, I'm not really super concerned about. Dak Prescott, your passing leader, rushing leader, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, your receiving yard leader. Jaron Kearse with 67 tackles, Micah Parsons with 13 sacks, and Trevon Diggs with 11 interceptions to fully recap. So what would I grade the 2021 Dallas Cowboys with everything we looked over? For me, and maybe you will disagree with me and think I'm being way too generous with this team, but for Mike McCarthy to get some new guys in here, to fire Mike Nolan, bring in Dan Quinn, build up the defense, get some guys in here. Regular season wise, the Cowboys did exactly what I thought they can do, and then in the postseason they disappointed. So I would say, given the circumstance of coming off a 6-10 season, nobody having real expectations about you in the media and some others not thinking they would do anything, and that they were overrated, to win your division, sweeping them, and getting to that third spot in the NFC, that's impressive. With the circumstances of also your quarterback not knowing what he was going to look like coming back from that injury. And then with the postseason leaving a bad taste in people's mouths, and if you take that out of it and look at the season as a full big picture, I would give the Cowboys season a solid B, nothing more so. If the Cowboys managed to win their final game of the season, win that playoff game and lose in the next round, I would have given it a higher score. But because of the fact that they did not meet the postseason expectations, that's where it lands, a B. You know, this comes down to the record. This comes down to how your players performed, and it's a B. You know, the Cowboys having that end of the year stretch where offensively they looked anemic at times or explosive towards the extremely very end. They have to play complete football. And now we get to the thoughts of the future of this football team. I have very little hope that this team can put together a complete organization, that can succeed. And what I mean by that, it starts at the top. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are reluctant to spend money, quality money, in free agency. They just hope to Christ that the free agent cheap crap that they sign works. It worked this time around. But I hate it when it does, because it gives them this false perception that they can pull the same bullshit off. You can't do that, guys. You can't. That's not how winning franchises do it. I'm not saying build through free agency. I'm saying you need to fill your holes effectively through free agency. The Cowboys sort of did it this year, but not as impressively as it could have been more so. You still could have added more guys, but they decided not to. Then you look at your coaching staff. Dan Quinn, excellent decision to bring him in. Commends the front office and McCarthy to look at in getting that guy. But the part that bugs me is the offensive coordinator, and you can throw in the QB coach there. You should not, when you bring in a new staff, you should not be meshing the old staff with the new staff. That is a malpractice of an organization, and that proves to me why the Cowboys have this country club mentality that they won't do anything. Regardless of who you have a quarterback, regardless of who you have as the head coach, if you don't let the head coach get his guys, you are not going to do anything that helps your cause. And Kellen Moore has not proven to us that he is the guy at offense because of the disappointments. You might be saying, well, why don't you think Kellen Moore's the guy, but you say Dak's the guy? The reason why I believe that Dak Prescott is still the guy as of this moment is that he has not proven to me with the season and body of work he's had that he is deserving of moving on from. If he has a Carson Wentz 2020 type of year, where he completely looks like shit, then we have a conversation. But he hasn't looked like complete dog shit to where it's like, okay, there's a problem. He just didn't meet people's expectations of this guy's a top 5 quarterback, where I think he is, so he should be doing well. That's the problem. I think he's, a 6 to 11 guy. He's in that Tony Romo slot like years ago. A good quarterback that you need as a organization to realize he's not going to do everything for you. And that's okay if he can't do everything for you, because you could still win with him as your quarterback. Like you could have won with Tony Romo at quarterback. You know what it lies at? The nepotism. Well, you could argue it's nepotism, but this infatuation with Kellen Moore, he's not it. He has given you 3 seasons to prove to you why he's the guy. And, I tried to defend him, but this year, inexcusable. He needs to go somewhere else. Please somebody hire him, but I doubt they will. You need to let Kellen Moore go. He is not the guy, because he goes into this shell that doesn't do any favors to your quarterback, that doesn't do any favors to your wide receivers or any of your playmakers. A lot of the good, successful teams and organizations know they have a coaching staff who are smart enough to scheme open their playmakers, make their quarterback not have to do everything on their own, or if they have to, they have plans to do so. If you are looking at it as, okay, if Dak Prescott is the 10th best quarterback in the league, if he is in a Matt Stafford type of category where, yes, he's going to put up the very good stats, but you're going to need to have a good organization for him to do well, and you have to recognize that and build off of that. That is the problem I have with this organization, and that's why I believe regardless of if you get rid of the quarterback or the coach, if you don't bring in the proper guys, that is why the organization fails year in and year out. We disappoint because we don't take ourselves seriously, people. The Cowboys organization is a country club. They do not give a flying fuck at this point if they win or not. Jerry is getting closer and closer to his deathbed, as much as how morbid that sounds. That's the truth. And I don't have any faith in Steven. Steven is a cheap ass that refuses to spend money on free agents. And, he does. I feel like they need to go in a new direction, especially when it comes to how they approach building the team. We want to build. I don't have a problem if you want to build a team through the draft. I'm not saying build it through free agency. But when I look at my notes and I just have to think about the moments that Steven had to where right after the season's over, we like our guy. Stop that. That is a cultural problem, man. We got to stop. No, you get rid of the guys that are causing your team to fail, and you don't let them hang around. It's exactly the type of culture that Jason Garrett ingrained into this team, because it was a manifestation of what the Joneses want. They want a team to be good enough to not be complete garbage, but they aren't doing services enough to get your team over the top. And that's the honest truth about this organization. I'm still going to root for the team. I love this team. But the outlook looks just exactly how I thought of it with the Romo era, and after that 2009 playoff loss, I was saying the exact same things. I wasn't on YouTube at the time, but I believed the exact same things. I was like, Romo feels like... Do I think Romo's a top 5 quarterback? No. But I think that, you could win something with him, but you need to not do him a disservice. And put him in this... Yes, yeah, you could say, yeah, we got the defense, but... Again, you should not rely on your quarterback to make up for the mistakes of your offensive coordinator not being able to schematically approach defenses a certain way. That is not a healthy way to win, people. But Tom Brady does it. Aaron Rodgers. No, if you look at how Aaron Rodgers, yes, he is a better quarterback. I'm not disagreeing with you there. What I am saying is if you look at how they transitioned from Mike McCarthy to Matt LaFleur and the way they got a new GM and everything, they were able to move forward as a team and build a winning culture and make Aaron Rodgers a lot more efficient. Make Aaron Rodgers not have to do everything, but if he has to, you can move and make sure you got your playmakers getting the ball. Dallas doesn't do that. You know, people be like, well, let's go get Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, regardless of the character issues, I'm just going to throw that out the window because we all know how they are. The reason I have a fundamental problem with us looking at getting guys like Deshaun Watson, Russell, like they are not going to solve what this team is doing. Russell Wilson cannot solve the problems with the Seahawks organization, and the Seahawks have not been drafting well, comparable to that to the Cowboys who have drafted well, and their free agents haven't been the best. They are not a good, well-run organization. They had a window that they drafted well and got their guys, but after that, they have not been good, okay? Same thing with the 49ers. They were in a long rut until they got a new set of management, and they changed how they went through and built the team, and that is exactly what I have a problem with. The Cowboys don't do that. The Cowboys are not good enough or smart enough, or they're blatantly doing this, which I personally think they're blatantly doing it because they don't care. I think that's your problem. That's not me defending Dak Prescott or me defending Tony Romo for their shortcomings. They have their own, and they have to own up for that. But we have to be real and understand that, you know, a guy like Deshaun Watson isn't going to fix this. You know, Deshaun Watson, as talented as he was and put up all those stats, he went like 4-12 one year. That doesn't mean anything, people. He got screwed over by his organization with on-the-play stuff, not the off-the-field shit. Tom Brady left the Patriots because they weren't giving him enough weapons, and you know the team wasn't doing him any favors. These quarterbacks, man, they need their stuff, you know. And the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you know, and the way that the Packers were approaching things was not working, and that is the problem. Your problem isn't your quarterback. The problem isn't, you know, some of these players. It's the culture. That's the problem. And that is where the Cowboys can fix things, but they won't. And you have to set those expectations. I know what this team is. This team is a team that can win games, get to the playoffs, and maybe win a playoff game if they're lucky. 2 if they are, by God, super, super lucky. And I know this video has been dragging out for quite some time, but I feel like it's important that we talk through everything and go forward from there. So I don't want to go any further. How would you guys grade this season? What is your outlook on the team going forward? All this other stuff. Put that down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much. You guys are MVPs for reaching the end of this video. That's awesome. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye-bye.